This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Lee Rosen and Ned Days cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on your annual plan for next year and an answer to a member question about getting a credit line. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from the airport lounge in Doha, where I am drinking the most delicious orange juice that I've ever had. I used to joke about not letting our kids have the fresh squeezed orange juice because I knew that they would then insist on having the good stuff instead of drinking the reconstituted stuff that we bought at the Kroger grocery store. Keep your kids on the cheap juice for as long as possible. That's your parenting lesson for today. Airline lounges are a lot like orange juice. Once you get the good stuff, there's just no going back. And right now, we're in the Qatar Air business class lounge filled with comfortable seats and beautiful decor and outstanding food and beverages. It is really nice. But the last time we were in this airport, we ended up in the first class lounge. It's a long story on how that happened, but the first class lounge, it's even nicer than the business class lounge. The space is just breathtaking. The seats are even more comfortable. The food is better. Everything about it is just outstanding. And now I am ruined for the business class. I'm going to need to find a patron who loves to buy me first class tickets. If that's you, let me know. I'm assuming it's not, so probably I'm going to have to adjust to a life in economy with the occasional upgrade to business class. Too bad, so sad.
It's time for your tech tip. The holidays are upon us, and that means travel for a lot of people. Now, there is an endless variety of travel gear and tech and apps and tips. A lot of it is very personal. Maybe you need a white noise machine to sleep while you're away from home. Maybe you decide to try toothpaste tablets like I did and discover they're actually less convenient than regular toothpaste. I want to talk about the basics today, keeping connected so you can get work done while you are away. And actually, there's shockingly little required these days. I used to have a whole bag of dumb gadgets and screens of apps on my phone that I carried everywhere, and you can certainly go down that route. But let's take a look at the minimum required to get things done when you get where you're going. First up is a small but very useful trick for your calendar if you are going to be in a different time zone. Managing time differences has historically been a little bit tricky. Thankfully, online booking tools take most of the headaches out of this process, and the calendars on our devices update to the local time zone. But it's worth knowing that Google Calendar and Outlook allow you to add a second time zone on your calendar. This is incredibly helpful when you are glancing at your schedule and need to line up times for events with either team members back at the office or personal items in the time zone you're visiting. If you have a contractor or part of your team who are in a different time zone regularly, you may find it useful just to leave this on all the time. In Outlook or Outlook for Web, you can click on the gear icon for settings, then go to Calendar, then View. You should see an option for Add Time Zone. In Google Calendar, you hit the gear icon at the top of the screen, select Settings, then under the Time Zone selection, check the box that says Display Second Time Zone. This will enable a drop-down menu where you can select the time zone, and you can give both time zones labels up to 7 characters long so you can tell which is which in the main calendar view. The Apple Calendar app does support multiple time zones too. You can go to Settings, then Advanced, and you will see a checkbox to turn it on. You have to toggle between the time zones with a drop-down though, so it's not quite as convenient. Next up, the most boring travel topic, but the one most likely to make you panic when your batteries are flat, and that is chargers. Now, we have reached the point where USB-C is the de facto standard for the foreseeable future. And as much as it pains me to say this, since I have a drawer in my desk with all manner of cables with various combinations of USB-A, mini USB, micro USB, Lightning, and all kinds of other things, it is time to just drop a few dollars on unifying your cable situation and being done with it. Now, I know somebody in the family still has an iPhone with a Lightning port and an older Kindle with some micro USB port that you can never manage to plug in the right way around on the first try, and probably a few little proprietary pads for charging various smartwatches and other health trackers. But survey your devices, pick up a few replacement cables so that the end that plugs into the charger is USB-C. This makes packing and unpacking and repacking and organizing a whole lot easier. Now, depending on what devices you have, you may may find the myriad of power banks and power bricks and magnetic charging options out there to be convenient, and I am not going to tell you to forego those, especially if it means you'll be able to keep a full phone charge after a long flight or car trip. But as far as day-to-day charging goes while you're traveling, even though there are plenty of multi-device magnetic cradles and all kinds of interesting-looking gadgets, I have found the most packable, most practical, and most robust solution to just be good old wall adapters and cables. The key measurement you want to look for here is being aware of the wattage that the charger can handle and what kind of devices you need to power. Something like a MacBook Air with an M4 chip will charge at a maximum of 70 watts, while a MacBook Pro can charge at up to 140 watts. Similarly, something like a Dell 14 Pro Premium with integrated graphics can charge it up to 65 watts, while a beefier notebook with dedicated graphics will likely be a lot higher. You are going to want to look for what are called GaN or gallium nitride chargers. These are a lot smaller than the older silicon chargers. I'm looking at Amazon right now, and Anker has a 140 watt charger for about $65 that has 3 USB-C ports and a USB-A port in case you just can't let it go. That's enough to charge a high-spec notebook at its fastest speed or slightly slower while charging a phone at the same time. At 140 watts, you can charge a MacBook Air and a few phones or tablets at full blast without any issue. Once you go over about 140 watts, you're out of the realm of wall warts and you start to see breakout boxes with extension cords, which are a lot bulkier and a lot less convenient in my experience. I think you are generally better off just going with multiple smaller chargers that plug directly into the wall. As a couple, my wife and I can get away with a single charger. If you have a particularly power-hungry family and everybody has phones, and notebooks, and watches, and cameras that need charging all at the same time, you may just want to grab everyone his or her own. Now, if you are going to leave the country, you will need to sort out your phone service. Here again, we are miles ahead of where we were just a few years ago now that every modern phone supports eSIMs. This basically allows you to buy virtual SIM cards and never have to bother with physical ones. The easy way to do this is via an app. There are dozens. AirAllo.com, Saley.com, Roamless.com. You pick a plan, time period, and features, you pay in the app, and you are ready to go. I, of course, went about it the hard way, going through some Vodafone portal on the web, getting complicated instructions via email, and then finding that despite being in the UK, I had a phone number with a Netherlands country code that wouldn't work while trying to sign up for a British parking meter app. I can assure you that the $3 I saved hunting for a deal was not worth it. And with that in mind, don't overlook the options your domestic carrier provides. Even discount MVNO services usually have options for buying international data packages. And if you are going for a month or less, while you may spend a few dollars more for this option, it's probably worth the convenience not to have to deal with one more app and configuration screen. Once you get to where you're going, you obviously don't want to have to talk with anybody any more than is necessary, because you have 15 seasons of some Tubi original streaming service to catch up on. Increasingly, hotel TVs allow you to cast video from your device or even log into your streaming accounts, but sometimes you are out of luck or you are staying with friends and family who don't understand your need for alone time with the TV. Walmart has a house brand for electronics called ONN, and they sell something called the ONN Full HD Streaming Device, which is not a very sexy name, but it is a streaming stick that costs a hair less than $15. It uses Google TV, so you can stream from Netflix, HBO Max, Disney+, Apple TV, Hulu, Paramount, and whatever other services you use. You just plug it into an HDMI port, connect it to the Wi-Fi, and you are up and running. If you have extra cash to burn and you want to suck up every bit of bandwidth from your brother-in-law's home network, the 4K version is a little less than $20. I hate to think of what kind of labor conditions are required to deliver a device that cheaply, but you know what? Sometimes I just want to watch This Old House reruns, okay? Now, as someone who spends an unhealthy amount of time listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos, I love seeing who is paying the big bucks for sponsored content, be it superfood powders or data broker removal services. And I have to say, I am shocked that VPNs are still spending crazy money to advertise. Now, some firms have internal networks that they need to access over VPN. You may have a complicated setup on your home network where you connect over VPN to access devices like printers while you're out of the house. That is a different kettle of fish. But if you are only using a VPN because a sponsored YouTube video told you that somebody at a coffee shop might steal your bank details, that is just not something you need to worry about these days. For most people, region unlocking is the only thing I would bother using a VPN for. Now that browsers have been forcing SSL connections for years, the bulk of the reason a lot of us used to use VPNs when on public networks while traveling is no longer an issue. So if you want to stream something that is region locked while you're overseas, a VPN makes sense. But if you are just buying one because you're worried somebody will get access to your email while you work from your sister's guest room in Tulsa over the holidays, I probably wouldn't bother. And the last item I'll recommend is one that I have been a proponent of for years and now at long last is actually having a bit of a moment as a fashion accessory of all things: wired earbuds. Now, wireless earbuds are obviously the way to go for day-to-day use, but having a cheap pair of wired earbuds that need no charging, no pairing, no configuring, you just plug them in and they work, has saved me enough times that the $10 or so they cost is well worth the price. You may already have a pair laying around, just toss them in your bag. Unless you are a cantankerous gear aficionado who knows for a fact that your devices still have analog headphone jacks, here again I am going to suggest you get a USB-C set of wired earbuds to work with modern notebooks and phones. As I browse Amazon, I see a set from Skullcandy for less than $8, official Apple AirPods for $17, Sony and JBL have some snazzier looking pairs for under $30. So whether you decide to ask Santa or splurge and get any of these yourself, your travel gear doesn't need to be complicated or expensive. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. I talk a lot about one-on-one meetings. I think they are essential to the success of your law firm. They're really, really important, but way too many law firm owners that I talk to, they just hate one-on-one meetings with their employees. They hate them. The employees hate them. They both sit down and they pretend to care about the meeting and they count the seconds until it's over. And it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It feels like a waste of time. And yet, if you don't do these one-on-one meetings, if you skip them long enough, the whole business starts to shake. They are the most efficient, most effective approach to keeping a law firm percolating along an even path. They are how you keep boss and employee in alignment. It's how you keep moving forward together in the same direction. But even though I get it, even though I appreciate the value of these one-on-one meetings, even though I know how essential they are, even with all of that, I can tell you I have had every version of a one-on-one meeting that a manager can have. I've had the ones that really light you up, where the employee is engaged, the ideas are flowing. Both of us walk out of the meeting with all sorts of momentum. They have been terrific. But I've also had these meetings that are just train wrecks, the ones where the air feels thick enough to slice and there just is no forward progress. It feels like we are stuck. Most of these meetings, they start off somewhere in between. Two people sitting down, being polite, trying not to say the wrong thing, everyone smiling while silently calculating how fast they can wrap it up. Most of these meetings start in a fairly awkward place, and it takes a while to get the flow happening. That's normal. One-on-ones are awkward because they deal with the truth, not the bullet points of your project management system, the human truth. They deal with people's insecurities and their ambitions and their frustrations, the stuff that doesn't fit neatly into an email. And I think that's exactly why they matter. That's why they're so important. I once had an employee, a veteran lawyer, somebody who had been around the block. She was smart and experienced and skeptical. There's no question. She was skeptical. She had been through big firms and government and academia. She had done it all over the years. She had seen every kind of boss, and what those experiences had taught her was pretty simple. Don't trust management. That's sad, but that's the reality for lots of lawyers once they've been around the legal world for a while. And I insisted with her that we do our weekly one-on-one meetings. When we started our meetings, she treated every one of our meetings like an ambush. Every compliment I gave her, she thought there was a catch. Every question I asked, she thought was a setup. You could practically see her armor glinting under the fluorescent lights in our office. But we kept at it. We met every week, 45 minutes like clockwork for 6 solid months. We spent about 20 hours of mostly uncomfortable conversation, and she was guarded and defensive and careful. And I was patient. a little awkward and trying not to screw it up. And then one day, it changed. She finally realized that I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't trying to catch her doing something wrong. I was trying to help her to get better at her job. And that moment, it was like watching a wall collapse in slow motion. Suddenly, she wasn't defending herself anymore. She was leaning in. She started using those meetings to push herself, to ask for the kind of work that she wanted, the kind of work that made her better. And she grew fast after that. She got better and better at her job. She became better and better as an employee. And the only thing that changed was trust. And I think that's ultimately what one-on-ones are about. Not checking boxes, not micromanaging, not performing leadership theater. They're about showing up over and over until people believe you're really on their side. That's when you stop being the boss and start being a partner in their success. And the funny thing is, the more I showed up for those meetings, the less managing I had to do. The work smoothed out. The fires went out before they started. The surprises disappeared. It's like adding oil to a noisy machine. It just runs better. So if you've been resisting these meetings, and I can certainly understand why you would, that's fine. Everybody resists at first, but here's the truth. You can't lead in the dark. You can't fix what you can't see. You need those conversations. They are the cheapest, most profitable investment of your time that you will ever make. So schedule them right now. Schedule one with every employee. Keep them short if you have to. But in each meeting, ask what is working. Ask what is not working. Ask what they want to do next. And don't jump in with solutions. Don't rush to solve everything. Just listen. And keep doing them. The consistency, it's magic. The act of showing up, that is the trust-building moment. At first, no matter how you approach it, these meetings are going to feel a little stiff. They're going to be guarded. You're going to wonder if you're wasting your time. But keep doing it. Keep going anyway. Keep showing up, because one day the ice will break. And when it does, you'll realize you weren't just managing employees. No, you were building a team that actually wants to win with you. That is your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from the business class lounge in Doha, Qatar, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there, I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of lawyers focused on working on, instead of in, their practices. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your firm. Sign up for free at roseninstitute.com.